Hello everyone and welcome to the spiciest baguette in the game, which is the Tier 10 AFV Sphinx. Matter of fact, it's the only AFV in the game. The Cornet functions more of a TD. Well, it's the only AFV at Tier 10, so which by default makes it the most powerful AFV in the game. It's fast, it's funky, there's a choice of 2 commanders. It's a great scout, a good damage dealer, and it has the best autocannon in the game, or at least the punchiest one at 72 to 88 damage with 240 pen, which means you can actually pen a lot of T-Series tanks frontally and you will go through the side armor of quite a lot of Tier 10s. The HE rounds for the autocannon are also pretty decent as well. And lastly, the missiles with 1200 pen and a very good amount of damage will mean that when you hit something they will definitely feel it. So, it's a Tier 10 AFV which follows on the scout line, such as the Fox, V-Belly and Grey, VBR, the Crab, and of course the Sphinx. It comes with a pretty wide range and stuff, but the first thing you're probably going to want to do is to get the thermal shield, which will help you with your scouting. Bullet resistance tyres will help with your movement off-road speeds, but this vehicle is fast enough. So the next thing you'll probably want to go and do is go through the gun line, which will get you a better thermal sight, ammo feeder, the all-important AP shells, and of course some aim time. Then it's up to the smoke grenades, which will give you 4 rounds of them, and a soft kill APS, which may help. But then again, the situation where you'll start to need it against double shot in T15s is a situation where you're very likely to die. This is a very unforgiving tank and you can die quickly unless you get a spore liner. In comparison to the other AFV on the same tier with vehicles such as the Crab and the VBR, let's see how the Sphinx stacks up against its Tier 9 and Tier 8 contemporaries, which I have probably missed them. There we go. As you can see here, the Sphinx actually has the highest autocannon damage out of all of them, the VBR having 18 to 22 with 102mm of pen, the Crab having a little bit better than the same, so the Sphinx has twice as much damage and almost does 100 more pen. The Sphinx also has 1200 damage missiles, which are vastly better than the other two, but they do a little bit more damage than the Crab. The Sphinx also has the most hit points out of all of them, and it also has the most armor, having some cage armor installed, which is better than the Crab. However, it will still melt under fire. It also has competitive camo range with the Cornet and the Crab, with the Cornet having slightly more view range, but the Sphinx being a better scout overall. The Sphinx also has the best gun depression out of all of them, which is pretty decent when you think about it. For now, the reason why the Sphinx has the more view range is that it has the augmented optics installed, while on my Sphinx I have a AGGM control unit, which you can take out for the augmented optics, of course. So, standard AFV retrofit line, active thermal camera, missile control unit, paint and telescopic lenses, a pretty usual amount of surplus part crates, first aid cabinet, fire extinguisher, a good chunk of 40mm AP rounds, some HE rounds as well, and the all-important missiles. And there is, in my opinion, a choice of only 2 commanders for the Sphinx. The first is Erin, who is your standard scout commander and will likely be more useful for PvP, while if you tend to go more towards the easier side of the game, which is PvE and Glops, Sabrina is your go-to, as she gives you module and crew damage and some nice scout bonuses as well, but that's up to you really. Crew wise, accuracy while moving increased by 10% and acceleration, and for the gunner, minus 23% accuracy increase rate and module damage improved by 10%. All well and good, and this is a pretty funky AFV to paint as it's quite blocky, so you can get quite a few camouflages around. which is quite nice. And lastly, since this is a crab, a Sphinx, it can actually be a pretty fun tank to play. As you can see here, it can't actually pen itself with HE rounds, and I have noticed that it has on some occasions been able to block the HESH rounds from the Challenger 2 ATTU, which is quite weird. As you can see there, the gun mantle does have some protection, which is nice, and these sides are pretty cool as well. And then lastly, it does have some cage armor around, which it can help, but not always. But then again, being hit in a Sphinx is always a pretty terrible idea when you think about it. So let's have a look at some games. So a pretty usual play for the Sphinx and other fast AFVs such as the Crab and the VBR is the scouting run at the start of the game, which you will see a lot. Now, you don't always have to do it, and it may not work on some maps where there's not really that much cover. Open maps such as Paternica can be in Blessing and the Boom. While you will have a very good spotting game, you can also be spotted relatively easy. So a lot of the time you'll be using denial tactics. So for instance, going up to this hill here, which is in the middle of the map, which you can use and you can spot the enemy and deny them from getting shots on the MBTs which normally move up. Okay, Type 99 140 spotted, who probably took some team damage. Okay, that's him. And a Wook, and an Armada, who was spotted by somebody else. Okay, that's some damage done. Even if your team doesn't damage the enemy, you're able to at least figure out where they're going and give your team some information about where the enemy is. So good. Fortunately, I do get spotted there. The Type 99 140 is moving towards that part of the map. So that's the thing. I have spotted a Cornet, but I'm aiming for that Leopard 2 at the moment. Even though the pen is great, most of the time, most MBTs at the same tier will be impenetrable from the front unless you aim for a weak spot, so it's not always a good idea. And as judging by the fast time to kill of tier 10 there, that Cornet was dead. He was in a very bad place to spot. And as you can see here, even though I have 240 pen, it's not always enough to go through the tops or fronts of vehicles in the same tier. So HE in some situations may be advised. Now spot the Wilk again. Oh, somebody else did really. You can see here the Type 99, very mutual spotting with him. Unfortunately, the enemy doesn't move up to this part of the map here. They usually do. I don't really know where the Sphinx went. He really should have been up here, because if he did, he could have spotted all of our MBTs, but didn't. So anyway, one shot in, another shot over there. You can see me move into HE now. Lovely bit of damage through that Armata's engine deck. You see here doing damage in the hundreds, which if you seriously wanted to, you could use Cortez, but I really wouldn't recommend it. So we're up to quite a bit of damage done now, which is pretty fun. Enemy Wilk over there, one. Nope, dead again. Oh well, it's a thing. Right, enemy Leopard 2AX, and this is where the gun of the Sphinx starts to come into play. With other AFVs, you'd be hard pressed to do 80 damage in a single burst at long ranges, in inaccuracy and everything. But thanks to the Sphinx's, I think it has a Bofors cannon installed or something. Thanks to the 40mm, you're able to do quite a serious amount of damage to the enemy. As you can see there, the burst damage of the Sphinx can really help, and especially going through the turret, the side turret armor of MBTs at tiers, especially tier 8s, where you can pen the side of their turrets pretty handily. So up to around 4,000 damage, which is pretty decent. Unfortunately, the days of having mega monster games in the Sphinx seems to be over for me, as the Rush B meta and the Cornets everywhere does mean you'll die a lot, as you will see very soon. Oh look, a Sphinx. Of course, there's a 99A over there. We're going to see if we can power him. There we go. And I end up getting crew killed by the Wilk, which can happen quite a lot. So as you can see there, you can die really quickly in the Sphinx. It happens. I don't really have to put anything against that guy other than the fact that he kind of only really started doing damage when his team died. You know, I guess that may have been the only amount of damage he did during the game, which is kind of sad. Anyway, Post-game stats, a pretty average game in the Sphinx for me. Usually you should aim to do at least your own hit points and spotting damage, but if you can't, just try to do as much as you can. As you can see there, 5,760 damage done, 5 enemies spotted, 2 enemies destroyed, with 2,000 spotting damage done overall to that 99 and to the Wilk. However, a bunch of enemies spotted 5, which is a third of the enemy team, with a couple of autocannon hits done and some missiles. As you can see there, the enemy, I think it was one of these Wilks, that guy just sat at the back mostly. And a pretty decent game overall, with the Cornet doing better, but Cornet will have the high firepower thanks to the 8 missiles, while the Sphinx only has 2. And unfortunately, the Sphinx does have a bit of an issue with soft kill APS, considering it only fires 1 missile at a time instead of 2 that the Cornet and the T15 can. However, not a bad amount of spotting really and everything. Let's have a look at a more destructive game. Even though I'm in a Sphinx, it's not always a good idea to go near the spotting places. You can see there the North team on this map does tend to abandon the fields quite a lot. So could have gone there, could have done some spotting, but spotting damage not so much, and it's very likely I would have died. So while you do have the speed and mobility to go places, go wisely. And I can't really go into the city on this map because it's an MBT fight, so instead I'm going to lurk around more the centre. There is 2 Cornets on the enemy team, and it's quite likely they'll try and be in the centre of the map, so I might as well stay here and figure out what's up. Now, I can actually outspot the Cornets, and I do have an autocannon, which means when it comes into a turn-in fight with one of them, I can and I will get them. Both the Cornets have been spotted this time, trying to hit him over there, but alas, to no avail. So now, one of the other things with the Sphinx is it's always a good idea to keep moving. You are a very, very, very fast vehicle, so if you can, keep going, keep moving. If you can't use your missiles on the move, okay, use your autocannon instead. It's one of the few autocannons in the game that actually has a very good punch for a single shot. 3 shots will land you 240 damage, 12 shots will land you 1,000. Which is pretty decent when you think about it. For now, I've got this Cornet to deal with. I was hoping to poke him out of business here, but unfortunately I couldn't. So he's still over there. Mutually spotted each other. It's a thing. It happens. Unfortunately, there is a leopard over there now, which means I can't really go near him. I was hoping to go for the Cornet, but it seems he's run off somewhere. With the smoke now going for it. I would actually like to see the Sphinx get a control unit as an upgrade, as its missiles don't really have the burst damage that, say, the other missile carrying units of tier 10 do. So on average, the hard kill APS will shoot down a missile, soft kill APS will redirect the other, which means you will have trouble engaging targets at long range with it. However, thankfully the HE pen is pretty decent and will explode on MBT turret tops and engine decks, which means you'll be able to get some damage there. And also, thankfully, the pen on the AP shells is also very good as well, meaning at the very least you will be able to do pretty significant amount of damage to MBTs on the sides. And if it's a tank such as a Charlie or a Leopard, you'll be able to go through the turret sides as well. Now, Cornet over there, unfortunately the other Sphinx is going to get him. You can see here that hurt him quite a bit, and unfortunately we're losing in the game now. Now, when it comes to the city, there's not really that much I can do, except for hang around on the sides and try and engage the enemy where possible. So, unfortunately there will always be quite a few things to do. Well, not much to do really. So, the centre, well, the city part of the map will always be down to the MBT teams really, so you've got to try and influence your team otherwise. But at least I'm active and about, I'm taking forward position. Those guys handled the Wilk, so I didn't need to, and there's also a Wilk up there as well who I can go for. Wilks can be pretty difficult, but now I'm going to go for the Sphinx. Sphinx on Sphinx fights are usually down to who hits the missiles and who gets that autocannon hit in. So you can see here that guy was just sitting there. Another miss, but thankfully using auto aim meant I was able to get him, and the fire killed him. Pretty decent, if I may say so. I just got me a Sphinx. Woo. So for now, I'm going to head back to the centre of the map again here. I was hoping to go for that cornet, which would have been great if I'd have been able to, but now there's a Merc, and now you're going to see what this thing can really do. Okay, 1, 2, autocannon, bam, 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 bam. And also, the Merc doesn't have that much side armor either, which means I can go through him. They hit me in the wheel. See there? This thing can do a crap ton of burst damage when it needs to. And unlike other AFVs with autocannons who need to rely on a DPM rather than a DPS burst, this thing can do both. However, it doesn't really carry that many autocannon shells, being limited to around, I think it's about 400 or something. Maybe less. So, unfortunately, it doesn't all go well. And unfortunately, at this part of the map, I did get a little bit too greedy for myself. So, that's all she wrote, really. A lot of the games in the Sphinx I've found are generally pretty short and sweet. You'll die quickly, you'll deal damage quickly. Kind of the lots for a tier 10 AFV, really. In Glops and PvE it plays a little bit differently. In Glops you can afford to play it as a spotter due to the abundance of enemies going to the cap circles. And in PvE you'll generally either want to remain invisible or to do damage from the sides. So, it's still a pretty fun tank, and I would definitely recommend playing one. It's fun, and I thoroughly enjoy it. Like I said, guys, that's all she wrote. This will be published on Sunday the 21st, which is the day after I'll be married, which means that the time when you'll see this recording, I will be in America, in San Francisco, having been in bed with my wife. So, like I say, guys, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this review. A little bit shorter than normal, but hey, that's the games I got, and that's as much as I can say about it. It's a fun tank, and I hope when you get it, you'll enjoy it. For now, take care everyone, and I'll see you all next time.